Everyone, welcome. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Before we get started, we have a very exciting session today, but before we get started, I just want to quickly go over code of conduct. There's a lot of text on the screen. I'm just going to summarize it for you all. Want to be respectful. We want to create an environment where everyone feels like they can ask questions. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Just keep the questions on theme, obviously, and respectful. And do take a moment to let us know where you're checking in from. Very excited for the topic for today. Keep in mind that this session will be recorded, but your face is not going to appear here, so don't worry about that. Usually the recordings are available within a couple of hours once the session is done. If you want to ask a question, you will need to have an account either on YouTube or I think we're just streaming on YouTube, so on YouTube. And then feel free to drop your questions in there, of course. Today, actually, I'm going to bring up this screen here, and I'll bring up Burke as well. Burke, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
From Florida.
What's up, Florida?
Atlanta, Oregon. I like it. Hong Kong, look at
it was just recently that I realized that the singer Flo Rida, that's just Florida, right? But just pronounced differently because I'm old.
I'm glad you.
Yeah. What's up? What's up? North Carolina, Philippines. What's up? Yeah, no spam callers, please. Not now.
So today's session is intended to be an introduction to Copilot, but more specifically,
it is. Yes.
Pragmatic tips, this is right.
Yeah. Well, we reuse the slides from Build, but the content is different, but the slides are the same. So just imagine this says introduction to Copilot.
The goal is to get you productive with Copilot as soon as you finish watching.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to the AI Skills College Challenge that's going on. We're going to drop a link for y'all to check it out. And these sessions, there's a bunch of actually sessions around similar AI related topics for the month of July and August. And they're centered around these 4 challenges. We have machine learning, cognitive services, machine learning operations, ML ops, and AI Builder Challenge. So be sure to go and check that out. Again, we'll drop the link to that in somewhere in the chat. But yes, quick introduction. Burke, want to introduce yourself in 30 seconds?
Hey, yes, my name is Burke. I work with the VS Code team here at Microsoft, and that's really all there is to say.
Okay.
Nothing more interesting than that. Yeah.
I'm Gwen. I don't know why we have VS Code and Microsoft. We both work in Microsoft, but
yeah, it's the same place.
And I like to do a variety of cloud things. That's kind of me. So anyway, we want to give a shout out to the VS Code.
Yeah, because I have a mic, so I wanted to do the shameless plug. Also, is everybody else getting an echo? Are y'all getting echo on the audio?
No.
Just curious if you are, let us know. Maybe we can fix it. So shameless plug, follow us on YouTube and TikTok as well. And we post a lot of shorts there. And this is one here. We don't have to watch this, but we do a lot of tips and tricks, and VS Code changes very rapidly, right? It releases every 30 days with new features to things like Copilot. So it's a good way to stay up to date on everything that's new without having to read release notes.
Very cool. Do I play this? I don't know if this will play with sound. Let's see. Is there sound?
No, there's no sound. You don't hear the soothing sounds of my voice.
Well, I'm sorry, everyone. Not sure what happened. But
you have to go to YouTube to watch it. You'll love it.
We've spiked your imagination or something like that, right? Oh, well, let me pause this now. All right, cool. Intro slide once again. But yes, I like the word pragmatic. I feel like
it's good. Yeah, people are like, I want to be. Who doesn't want to be pragmatic? I was like, everybody wants to be pragmatic.
Cool. So I think we should probably start with actually talking about what GitHub Copilot is. You want to know something, Burke? I took a screenshot of this exact slide, this thing. I put it on socials, I shared it, and someone was like, you do know that the code generated in that screenshot isn't actually correct. It's forgetting to import some kind of library. I'm no JavaScript developer, so I have no idea. But then I thought to myself, and I replied, and I said, well, that's sort of the point, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're going to get into that. So there's a good segue here from Randall, who said, is MS Copilot different from GitHub Copilot? So it's very important that we clarify this up front. We are talking about GitHub Copilot today. When Microsoft uses the term Copilot to talk about any AI experience that's been added to, oh, do you want me to turn down? Would it help if I turn down my mic, y'all? Look, how
I
about
can turn
this?
up mine. Do you want me to turn up mine,
I
or
turn mine down. You turn yours up. We'll
how we
see how we're
doing?
doing. Producer, I know we got a producer back there. Can you tell us how our audio is?
No echo, but I'm 3
Sound.
times as loud.
Yeah, I turned it down, y'all. I cranked it.
Let
All
us
right.
know. How's it sound?
Yeah,
Give us
Dimitri, let us
drop
know.
us a comment.
So when Microsoft talks about copilots, it's any AI experience when using a Microsoft product, right? So you'll see a copilot in PowerPoint, right? They announced copilot in Power Plat, copilot in I don't know, everything. Everything's got a copilot. So when we're talking about that, we are not talking about GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is specifically the AI pair programmer experience that you get in Visual Studio Code. And I understand that that's kind of a nebulous term. Like, what is an AI pair programmer? We're going to find out. That's what this whole session is about, is like, what does this actually do? It's even hard from the screenshot to figure out what's going on, except for the fact that Copilot's appears to be about to generate this code here or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Looks like the audio's better now. Okay, cool, awesome. Now
Awesome.
we
Okay.
can't talk about AI or like this anything. I mean anything AI related for the last couple of months or couple of
Yes.
years, right? Without talking about LLMs, large language models. Do you want to
Correct.
let us know what it's all about?
Yeah. So GitHub Copilot works the same way that all of the AI explosion that's all over your Twitter feed and, telling you how you can make $1 million a month getting just the right chat GPT prompt. Okay. All of that stuff, it uses the same thing, which are these large language models. And large language models, we need to talk about what they are. We're not going to talk about how they work. There's YouTube videos that you can go watch on that and then, like me, still be confused. But you can just boil it down to large language models are statistical probability machines, like really, really powerful statistical probability machines. And in fact, they're not new. This is a technology that we've been using for many, many years. You just haven't thought of it as what it is, right? So if you've typed into a Google or Bing autocomplete, I said the wrong search engine. Hey, we'll scrub that in the VOD. Yeah, so when you do type into a search like this is actually happening. What's happening? Well, in the background, some statistical probability machine is looking at what everybody else has done and what you've done before and what's available on the internet and putting together the next letter, right? And so here, apparently, why don't zombies decay is a popular topic when you get this far, which I think is a fair question to ask, right?
Why don't zebras get ulcers? That's just
Why
so
don't zombies
specific.
attack each other? Which is also a good question. Why don't zebras get ulcers? I never even saw that before. Okay. All right. So this is what a large language model is, just this, but like a super powered version of this. And that's very important to understand because there are some very real limitations when we talk about large language models as far as helping you code. Okay. And we're going to talk about the limitations just briefly because once you understand those, you will be less frustrated when things go sideways because they're going to go sideways. And if you don't understand the limitations, they will go sideways quick and you won't understand why. Okay. So let's get into it. So first of all, the data that the model is trained on impacts the suggestions that it can give, right? So in practice, GitHub Copilot was built on open source code on GitHub, right? And so it means that you're going to get a lot better answers in languages that are widely used and libraries that are widely used on GitHub. So for instance, if you're building a React app, you're going to get pretty good answers, right? React is really widely used. If you're like me and you were building an HTMX app, HTMX is kind of new, doesn't have as much, you're not going to get very good answers because it's not ever seen that before. And so it's not exactly sure what the next probable answer word might be. So just keep that in mind, right? The more data that it has about a thing, the more that it can give you correct answers. It is not a compiler. And this is super important to understand because you know whether or not code is going to compile by looking at it to an extent, right? Sometimes you can't spot all the bugs, but your brain is a compiler. GitHub Copilot is not a compiler. It's not even a brain, right? It's important to understand it doesn't know anything. It is not a brain. It doesn't know anything. All it can do is statistically tell you the most likely word that's going to come next. So it generates answers, but you have to understand that it's not thinking. It doesn't look at the code that it writes and go, okay, this is good code. I'm going to give them this code. It has no concept of that whatsoever. And if you know this, the fact that it works at all is kind of amazing and remarkable, and we're going to get into that. And finally, it can't read your mind. Okay. A lot of times when we're programming, we know what we want. Okay. But it's very difficult to say what we want. You don't really know until you start writing the code and working through it. And then as you work through it, you begin to realize, oh, this is what I want. So the more specific that you get with Copilot, as we'll see, is going to yield better answers. So let's see, chat. Some people says they're having trouble downloading the extension. Is that true? Let's see here. I'm just going to check and make sure the link we gave everybody was right.
Give it a check. I would also say it's important that we go over the limitations now, because it also, I feel like it removes some of that like fear factor that everyone has around AI and that it's going to replace you. And if you know what it's actually good for and what it actually is doing, it'll empower you to better utilize it, become more productive and pragmatic.
Yes, that is true. So somebody once said it really well. It said, AI is not going to replace you. It's not going to take your job. But a developer who knows AI is, right? So that's a good way to think about it, right? Like, and we don't mean that seriously. Nobody's coming for your job, I promise. But it's important as a developer to be versed and to learn this stuff and know about it. You don't want to be agnostic of all that stuff.
Love it.
When is mind reading coming to Azure? I don't know. I can't answer that. Should get Mark Rusinovich on here. All right.
Awesome. We don't have that many slides, which I feel like people prefer anyway.
Oh yeah.
And
I gotta share my screen, don't I? Let's do that.
Demo packed for the rest of this.
Yeah, we're gonna do demos. Presenting. Share. I'm gonna share my entire screen for better or for worse.
Let's do it.
All right. Pop me in, producer. There we go. Y'all give it up for our great producer in the background who you can't see, but he is working hard. All right. Just checking the chat here. Why is VS Code separate from Visual Studio? They're two separate things. Visual Studio is an IDE. VS Code's a text editor. Good question, Dakota. Sort of a lightweight experience, but you can use whichever one you want. Does work in both. Copilot does. All right. All right, let's get started here. This, my friends, is Visual Studio Code. If you haven't seen it before, we'll just keep zooming until, how's this? Is this good? Not big enough? It's too big.
Might be too big. I think you're good there. Yeah.
On my screen, it's just enormous. And this theme, because I know you're going to ask, this is GitHub Dark Dimmed, the theme, right here. There's some great ones out there. Got to get a good theme.
A light mode person?
Light mode? Do we have a light mode?
Do you ever use it?
I used to, but then I found the dark dimmed theme and I really like that.
There's a Windows NT theme that I discovered today.
Install, let's say, browse additional color themes, Windows NT.
Yeah.
There's also my favorite, which is Hot Dog Stand. Have you seen that one?
I've seen this. It's so bad.
Oh, it's awful. Another good one is Night Owl. Oh, come on. Give me Night Owl. Sarah Drasner. It's a pretty theme. We'll go with that one. Okay. Also, my sidebar is on the right. And
why is that?
Well, we could talk about
some secret.
I can't see Sarah. I can't see what the line is for this. There we go. It's because I'll show you real quick. Like, let's pull up some code. When your sidebar is on the left, so you can toggle the sidebar position. Sidebar, toggle primary sidebar position. because you constantly expand and collapse the sidebar with Command or Control B, and it bumps. If it's on the left, it bumps the code out. But you don't realize this, but like your brain takes a millisecond to adjust to that because your context gets moved. But if you do it a lot, right? But if you move it to the left, see, your screen doesn't jump around.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Look
there's
at
a little
that.
pro tip for you. Oh,
Today I learned.
that was for free. You don't even have to pay for that. That's free. Okay. So let's talk about Copilot. First of all, you're going to need the GitHub Copilot extension, which we've put the link in the chat several times. It looks like this. This is the little fella. Once you install this, you will need to sign up for an account for GitHub Copilot. It does cost, I think, $9 a month, and you get 2 months free. So when you install it, it's going to tell you that you need to sign in, and then it's going to tell you that you need a subscription. And to get a subscription, you go to, I think it's just github.com/copilot. github.com/copilot. Is that right? Somebody check me there. Anthony's here. Anthony knows everything. Anthony, tell me, what's the right link for? I should know this, y'all. This is simple stuff. All right. Also, when we talk about, this is a good question, really quick. Before we get started, Ivana said, Copilot, not Copilot X. So listen, y'all, Copilot X is a term that refers to everything that GitHub is doing to add AI in. When it comes to Visual Studio Code, it's just GitHub Copilot and Copilot Chat. That's it. There's no X. I know that's kind of confusing, but just think about Copilot and Copilot Chat in VS Code. That's what we're doing. Great question. Great point. All right. So assuming that you've installed Copilot, this is what you get, and it's not immediately obvious what you're supposed to do with it. Like, where does the magic start? So really, you're just supposed to like do what you normally do, and it works. So there's sort of two ways that you can use GitHub Copilot as it comes out of the box. One of them is that you can just give Copilot a command by using a code comment. So we can say write a function that reverses a string. And if you don't like JavaScript, I'm sorry, because we're going to be doing a lot of it today. And so you can see here that Copilot's like, oh, perhaps you want input hello. No, I don't. Remember how we talked about like it doesn't know anything and it's just statistically completing? Okay, so what do you do here, right? Because this is not what you want. Well, you need to give it a little bit more help, right? So we want a function. Okay, there we go. So at this point, it's given us a suggestion here, and we call this ghost text. It's kind of like gray text that shows up. It's not actually in your editor, okay? It's not there until you hit tab and accept the suggestion. So in this case, it said reverse string, and then it put your code here, right? Which is not quite what we want. There we go. Okay, so in this case, it knows that for JavaScript, there is no reversing. So what it's doing here is it's splitting it into an array, reversing the array, and then joining it back into a string with the empty string. Now, GPS, how do we know that this code is right?
We don't.
We don't, right? We either have to test it or we have to know a thing or two about JavaScript, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's not going to replace you because it's not a compiler, so it has no idea. All right, so this is like the simplest example. But if you're super specific with your function names, you can say like function reverse string, and Copilot can probably guess from your function name what you actually want there. So I may have gone kind of fast, reverse string, see? And as I'm typing, it's just filling in. So it's just kind of there with you. It's always there, and you don't have to take the suggestions, right? If you wanted to keep going or you wanted to pass more parameters here, you can press Control or Command to just accept the next thing that it's suggesting, like this, and then just hit Escape, right? And you don't have to take the rest of it. You can just take part of it and not the whole thing. Okay. I cannot get any of that to download. It gives a 404. You can't get, what's giving you a 404? Oh, you know what? Do y'all have Visual Studio Code installed? I think you need to have VS Code installed to install the extension.
Maybe that's
Taylor. Let me know, Taylor.
Someone just said, I learned Copilot is free for academia.
Is that
Indeed.
true?
Yes.
All right. Bonus.
And there are certain, if you're an open source maintainer, there are certain requirements that if you meet, also available for free.
That is correct. People are like, how do I know if I'm an open source maintainer that qualifies? You would already know. They would have told you.
You
That's
know,
how
you
that
know.
works. Yeah, it's GitHub. They know. Okay. What happens if I type a comment like create a hello world in Python, but inside of a JS file? I don't know. Let's try it out. Create a hello world. My guess is it's going to do it. Hello world program in Python because it doesn't care.
Yeah. Someone asked if it cares about the extension.
No, it's not doing it. It doesn't know what to do. It's like, here, I'll reference this file for you. How about that? Because we're in a JavaScript file. Okay. Yeah, Karen said I had to install VS Code. Yeah, you need to install VS because it's when you install that extension, it's trying to open the editor to install the extension.
Right. Good point.
My fault. Apologies. Can we drop in code.visualstudio.com producer just so people know where to get the download? All right, so now that we're in here, let's talk a little bit more about this. Let's say that we wanted to write a function that sanitizes HTML. Will it get this right and returns a string? Let's see. It's safe to render to the DOM. And this cannot contain any HTML. Okay. So again, we want to give it a little bit. Okay, let's see. Now, in this case, it's given us a regex, right? Does this actually work? Again, we have no way of knowing. And so in this case, you want to use your editor tools to kind of verify this. In this case, we have one called regex preview. Let's go here. I think it's called regex preview. Regex preview.
Love me some regex.
Yeah, from Christoph, who's on the VS Code team, by the way. And did you say you love you some regex?
Sarcastically.
Sarcastically. We can just click test regex and see if this actually works. You can see it's matching HTML tags here. So if we, let's put, sorry, that's not HTML. That's the URL. Let's try again, Burke. So is this working? Is this sanitizing out HTML tags? Yes. Yes, it is. Copilot's really, really good at doing things like regex. You should remember that because one of the tricky things with Copilot is it's not immediately clear what it's good at. It's really good at stuff that you as a developer are not, right? So regex is a perfect example. If you wanted write a regex that that validates a date in the format, month, day, year. Just give it to me. Just write it. There we go. Again, we'd have to test this. We have no idea if this is right. This looks like gibberish to me. Okay. This is the simplest use case for Copilot. Let's get into something a little bit more complicated here. And that is, let's create an index file. And I'm going to do that. I feel like I should. First of all, let's turn on the word wrap. Let me do that again. So in VS Code, if you want to create an HTML file, you just hit the exclamation mark and then tab, and it will put it all together for you. Okay.
Oh my goodness, all these goodies. I don't know any of
Remarkable. It's remarkable. How long do we have? Are we going to 12 or 11:45?
We could use the whole hour.
Okay. So in the body here, let's say that what we want to do, y'all, okay, is we want to create a layout with a fixed header and a fixed footer and a body in the middle that scrolls. Okay, so this would be like your standard app layout on a phone, but we want to create it on the web. This is one of these layouts that's kind of difficult to create because web pages just want to scroll. So we're going to have a header, and then we're going to have, we'll put header here, header. And then we're going to have main content. And I'm using emit here, these abbreviations, by the way. So like if in emit, if you wanted to add a class, you could do like, I don't know, like this. And if you want to add an ID like that, and it just assembles the HTML tag for you. We don't need all that. Let's do main content here, and then we're going to have a footer. And you can see, did you see that? Did you see what just happened? So let me do that again. So Copilot is just guessing, right? It sees what I'm doing, and it's like, okay, you probably want this because it knows about this file. And it's looking at what I'm doing and watching me and it's catching on as I go. Yes, I do want that Copilot. Thank you very much. So I feel like this is a little bit, there we go. And then we're going to write some CSS, right? So we need some CSS here. Let's add the CSS. How does one, I wonder if it can guess. No, it does not know. Let's see here.
Link.
Okay, so kind of. Except it's not called style.css. It's called index.css. Yo, what's wrong with my tokenization? Is that right? That's right. So it's index.css.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because Copilot has no concept of your project structure right now, because prompt sizes are limited, and it can't know about everything. So it really only knows about the current open tab, and it knows some things about other open tabs within reason, right? They kind of try to intelligently max out the prompt size, but it can't know about everything. Okay. So this looks weird to me. Why? I need to switch my theme back. I can't.
Yeah, once you get used to one, it's.
Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay in my zone. And all right, so now, like, let's take a look at this thing. So this is what this looks like. So now we need to write some CSS, and this is where this gets tough. Let's do this over here so we can actually see what we're doing. And I'm using the live preview extension.
I was gonna ask, how did you get it in VS Code?
Live
I always have
preview.
it externally.
It's right there. And then once you do that, when you make updates to whatever this is,
Sweet.
right? It's my header. It updates in real time. So this is super nice for working on HTML files. So now we need to tell Copilot to write the CSS to do this. So what we want to do is say, create a layout for a header, main, and footer elements. Okay, I'm being as specific as I can here. The header should be fixed to the top. The footer should be fixed to the bottom. Main content should scroll in between the header and the footer. Okay. This is kind of a long prompt, but notice how specific everything is, right? I've told it what elements I'm using. I've told it exactly where I want things. And now let's see what actually happens here. So this is not what we want. So what do we do? Well, let's just start writing some CSS. Okay, so we're off to the races. Let's see what happens. Looks like it's using Flexbox. Okay, here's our header. Here's our main content. And our footer. All right, this looks pretty good. But I'm not exactly sure that it works because, the proof will be whether or not the content scrolls. So let's add, because where's the main content? I don't even see it. My guess is it's underneath the header here. So it kind of got this right. And let me just check and make sure that's actually the case. Like if we pull the header, yeah, so it's underneath the header. So it kind of got this right, but not really. So in Copilot, what you want to do is do small things. When you try to do big things like this is where it starts to get tedious, because as a developer, now the whole name of the game is getting this prompt just right. And you don't want to do that, because how are you supposed to know what to write in this comment? This would just be super frustrating. So we're going to revisit this later on and talk about how to fix this. But for the time being, let's move on to a different demo.
So just to add there, you're saying it's best to kind of leverage it as you're working already instead of starting from scratch with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Although we're going to go back to that. I'm going to show you how to iterate so you can get the prompt right. Okay, so let's pull up this project, which is a bot that I created, which is it's like ChatGPT, but it's just angry all the time about everything. Okay. So I just tweaked the prompt and told it that it's okay to be a jerk because sarcasm is funny. Okay, so this is our annoyed bot. We have a few problems here with our annoyed bot. And first of all, I'm going to open this in the browser because it's not going to display precisely like we want it to. And we're going to get a better view here. So look at this text area here. Do you see how it's like off to the side and like you can resize it, which like I don't really want. And it's like, it's just kind of a mess. And so I need to fix this. So let's go over to our CSS and start working on this. So let's close this, zoom out a little bit. I have to zoom, so maybe we can use this in here, but let's open our CSS file. And where is it? Where'd it go? Demo 2, CSS demo 2. So here's the CSS for this thing. So let's go to our text area down here. Where's it at? Text area, text area. Well, what's the name of the text area? Name, ID is new message. Yeah, new message. Here it is right here. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to say, don't allow resize. Okay, so now we're doing one thing at a time. So we're going to say resize none, and now the handle's gone. Okay, we didn't need to know anything about CSS there really, or how to do that. We just need to ask for that one property. So now let's tell it let's get fancy. Let's say add a thin gray border here. Make it start to look kind of nice. Give the border rounded corners. Okay, it's starting to look pretty good. And now let's get fancy. Give it a subtle drop shadow. See here. All right, so now look at this. Look at our text area, right? Like it's in the details. Like we're making it look good. It's got a thin border. It's rounded, but it's still not centered. And I don't understand why, because the margin is set to auto. Okay, it should be centered. That's what elements do when you give them a margin of auto in 100% width area, which is what this is. So what we're going to do is just say center the text area. See here. Can we say center the element? Text line center. No, let's see here. Make the element centered in its container. Okay. The reason why this thing isn't centered is because it's an inline element by default and it needs to be block level. So as soon as we do this, it gets bumped to the center. So this is the kind of thing that can save you a ton of time, right? Because otherwise you're going to be out on Stack Overflow wondering why the heck is this text area not respecting an auto margin? And you're going to do that even like me after coding for, golly, almost 20 years and doing HTML that whole time, right? I still get confused by that stuff because you can't know it all. All right. So now what? Now let's do, so we'll just check in. Just checking in. You like my new text area? Jeez, it's so mean. Blowing. I've never seen such a magnificent display of pixels. It's truly a game changer. How can anyone not admire? It's just another text area. Okay, thank you I feel better. Okay, so let's take a look at the code that actually does this. It's not super complicated, although it is JavaScript, so there's a lot of it. And it would be nice if, like, when we hit the up arrow, the text that we typed last came back, which is not currently the case. Okay. So in order to do that, we need to handle the key down. So this right here handles if the enter key was pressed. So let's collapse this. And now we want to handle a different scenario. We want to handle, so scroll, it's trying to guess. It's like maybe you want to scroll to the bottom. Maybe not now though. What I want to do is I want to handle the key up arrow key event. Okay. And this is what's great. Remember we talked about how Copilot is really good at stuff that you're really bad at, and the kind of things you're really bad at are remembering what key code is the up arrow key, right? You can't remember that. So you just hit tab, we'll take that. And then let's see if Copilot can actually do this. Okay, so it's gonna guess, and it's gonna say, get the last message from the messages array, and then set the message box value to the last message. This isn't quite what we want, because if we do this, it's actually gonna give us the last message, which might be this message. So what we really want is we want to get the last message from the array where the role is, I think it's user. Let's see, what are the roles? Role is system. I think it's roles. Let's try role. Let's try user. Get the last message from the messages array where the role is user. All right, now it's gonna perform the array method and find this specific object inside of our array, okay? Again, this is the kind of thing that I'm bad at, which is remembering specific array methods. And so we'll save this, and then we'll come back here, get another rude response. And now when we press the up arrow key, we actually get hi, which is what we wanted.
Look at
my
that.
last message, not the last message, right?
Love it.
Everybody's still with me. Should we stop to chat with the chat?
Someone added a great comment here. It seems even if you have Copilot, you still have to have good knowledge of how CSS works. Well, I guess this was when we were doing the CSS stuff. Someone
Absolutely. That's so true. Y'all, you can think of Copilot like a GPS, not GPS here, but like a car GPS, right? GPS can get you where you're going really fast, especially if there's traffic. It cannot drive your car.
Right. It suggests.
Right. It makes suggestions to try to make your life easier.
Yeah. And that's the sort of point we're really trying to make with these demos is it really is in your hands. You could ignore all the suggestions or you could leverage them, but yes, you need to know what you're doing.
Now, the other thing that we could do here is if we had a scenario where we're not really sure about this, right? So like, I don't know about this. We can press Control Enter, and what it will do is it will give us a bunch of different suggestions for how to do this. And we can kind of take the one that we like the most. So in this case, it's going to slice and reverse. I don't know why it's slicing. It's just reversing, right? So maybe and this one it's using filter. So this is actually, I think this might be a better suggestion here. And so we can accept this solution instead.
Wait, how did you get the suggestions there?
Control Enter.
Okay. Cool.
And then it will give us solutions. Now it doesn't have any here because we haven't, it's got nothing to go off of, but so you can do that. The other thing that we can do is when, and then we'll move on from this, but like when it gives you a suggestion, if you mouse over it, you get this little box. And if it's got if we can give you multiple suggestions here, we will. And then you can toggle through them. But here it doesn't have any, it's just got the one. Okay. That's ghost text, y'all. And that is the primary Copilot experience. Now let's talk about chat. That's what everybody came for, right? Came for chat? All right. So for chat to work, yes.
Just curious how many people have used Copilot. Drop us a comment. Let us know.
Yeah. Drop a 1 in chat if you've used Copilot.
Drop a 1. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, are we ready to go on and talk about chat? Should we talk about chat? I feel like that's the exciting thing. And this is where all of the, what's the word? Innovation.
The sauce?
The sauce. This is where the innovation is, the sauce is happening right now inside of VS Code. Okay, so let's talk about Copilot Chat. For Copilot Chat, you're going to need 2 things. First of all, you're going to need the Copilot Chat extension, which is this one here. The other thing is you're going to need to sign up on the waitlist. And if someone out there could slap the waitlist link in the comments, I do believe they are expediting people off this waitlist pretty fast now. And for a while there, it was touch and go, but I think we're close to being there. Okay. So once you've got chat installed, you will get this new icon over here. It says Copilot Chat. All right, so let's open that up. And now we have chat in the sidebar. And I'm gonna make this bigger. And it says, I'm powered by AI, so surprises and mistakes are possible. Okay. Make sure to verify any generated code or suggestions. So giant disclaimer at the top. So what does chat do? Well, it does exactly what you think it would do, right? You can chat with it. And you can ask it like technical questions. So we could say, what is a good framework for building a Python application? Then it's going to answer you, right? It's telling you Flask, Django, Pyramid, Bottle. I've not even heard of the bottom two. And so it's great for these kinds of things. But you can't just ask it anything, right? So like if we say, what is the capital of North Dakota? It's going to be like, nah, denied. You can only ask it coding questions. It won't just tell you anything, right?
So it's not like ChatGPT or Bing Chat.
Right. That's the big difference here is it's highly optimized for code, and it does not want to discuss your life with you or capitals. I'm sorry. That's what GPT is for, ChatGPT. Okay. We should also note that if you don't have to be in the sidebar. I think you can drag this out into, you know what? You can pop it out, I believe, like this, open session in editor, right? And so now it's out here, right? So I just took the session and now I've got a lot more real estate to work in, which will feel a lot more like ChatGPT, right? The other thing that you can do is there's a secondary sidebar in VS Code. And you can drag this thing, where does it go? You can drag it over here to the secondary sidebar. And the nice thing about this is that you can have your project open while you have chat open. And, you know, if you were working on your own screen, it's like this. You have plenty of real estate, but we're in a demo, so we're very zoomed in.
I did not know this either. For those who have ultra wides, this is like heaven.
Yeah, like this one back here. This is like a 32-inch ultra wide, and people are like, why? The ultra wide because of this.
Yeah.
It's like having two monitors, but they're like joined in an awkward way. So this is secondary sidebar. And the only thing is, like, be careful with this because toggle secondary sidebar, like where's the toggle secondary? You'll forget that you put it in there, and then you're like, I don't have chat. Where did chat go? I installed it. Where is it? Because it's hiding. So just be careful with that. We'll move it back. We will move this back to here. Okay. So we're in the chat. What else can we do with chat? Well, we could ask it like, how do I scaffold a new Express application? And it should tell us, come back and tell us how we can scaffold an Express application. And by the way,
opposite approach.
What's that?
We're starting pretty much from scratch using
Copilot
Chat versus
we're starting with nothing. And it's thinking. And did I mention we're in preview here in Copilot Chat? This is important to know.
I don't think you did, but
did I not? All right.
Here's a good question.
Yeah,
because I think we kind of spoke about this, sort of.
Yes, it can. You can copy and paste an entire error into chat, and it can tell you. It will try to tell you what there we go. So now we got a response. It will try to answer for you, and we'll try to generate one of those errors. Yeah, demo effect. The demo gods are temperamental today. So from these, you can copy these, right? Or you can actually, like if, you could run this directly in the terminal like this and say run in terminal. Okay. And if I do that, it should pop up in the terminal and put the command in. Okay. You can also add it to a new file, or excuse me, the current file at the cursor position. You can copy it, or you can insert it into a new file, and it will create a new file for you and put the code there, right? But I want to show y'all something. This is brand new, okay? You can't tell anybody about this.
I'm excited.
It's a secret. There are slash commands here, and they do various different things. So for instance, you had a question about VS Code, like, how do I install a new theme? We compose a prompt for you, and then we do special things. Like we add these buttons so that you can just open and change the setting directly
That's cool.
from chat. Yeah. Because a lot of
cool.
times in VS Code, you're like, it's something obscure. It's like, how do I hide the mini map when I'm working in Markdown? Now, it might get this right, but if I add the VS Code slash command, it's now scoped to the data set for VS Code. We're going to ground it in VS Code settings. And this is a very obscure setting, right? And it's telling you, you need to go into settings. You need to add this in the JSON file. So this is super helpful.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there's other slash commands. So let's go back to our express selection, right? So watch this. Create workspace. Okay, and we're going to say, create a new Express.js application. And it should. So now you see this new create workspace button. So we're going to click that. It's going to ask us for a folder. So let's put it here. We'll just call it new app. New app. Okay, we'll call it new app. Select this workspace destination. And look, it's running this stuff, or it should be running this stuff. Let's see here. No, it didn't. Okay, so y'all, look, we're working on the new workspace, but the idea is that you'd be able to scaffold directly from VS Code, and we would create that project for you. Perfect for lazy typers. Exactly. You only have so many keystrokes in your life, y'all.
Right.
I want to go back, though. Remember we said we were going to revisit a previous demo, this one here, which we were writing the CSS, and it just couldn't get it quite right. So let's open up our CSS file. And the other thing that you're able to do, kind of almost got that right, is there's an inline chat feature here, okay? And so let's go to our main, I'm just gonna highlight all of the CSS here. I'm gonna press Command or Control I, and that's gonna give us this inline chat box in the code, okay? So now we've scoped it to the code. We want to chat with it about this specific block of code. And what I want to do is just tell it the main content should not, excuse me, let's try it like this. The header should not overlap with the main content area. See what it does. Okay, cool. So again, I need to zoom out a little bit. It's giving us a diff so that we can see what's actually been changed, right? And it even gives us a comment. It's like, adjust this value to match the height of your header. So this is kind of what we want. Let's add in some lorem ipsum text here. So like we could say here, give me 10,000 lines of 10,000 lines of lorem ipsum text. And it's like, it's probably going to try to write some PHP or something, because bringing 1,000 lines of lorem ipsum text back from a large language model is a really bad idea. Because
taxing.
Yeah, because of sizes. So, but like VS Code's really good at this. So you're like, give me 1,000 lines of lorem ipsum. Bam.
Nice.
So is this working? Right? It's scrolling. It's scrolling. It's scrolling. It's scrolling. But it's still kind of, it's still kind of underneath the footer, right? So let's iterate again and say the main, I don't know why it keeps bumping to the top here. The main, okay, Let's zoom out some. The main content should not go underneath the footer. See what it tells us. All right, so did that work? Boom. Yes, it did. All right, so we're getting a little closer here. And really what we need is our cursor or our scroll bar to stop. And so we need to just keep iterating on this. But the reason why I'm showing you this is that you don't have to get the prompt right the first time. You could just write the CSS and then go back and just iterate. Just keep talking to it until you get what you want. It's a better way than trying to get it right at the first go, because you won't. And you shouldn't expect yourself to, right? Okay. And then here we have the diff so we can see what's changed. We can accept this, or we can just discard it if we don't want it. So it doesn't actually take effect until we click accept, even though the preview shows it.
Very cool.
All right. I feel like we've done so much with Copilot. We could do more, but at this point, I would just be like making stuff up. I wonder if we could generate an error. So like, let's see if we can generate an error here and then try to fix it. Well, one thing we can do is we could take this and we could say, explain. Sorry. Use the explain command. Maybe we'll get a better response. See if the difference between these two. Looks like it's the same response. It's telling us it's going to post, function makes a post request. So if you have some code that you don't understand, you can ask it to explain that code. And this also works for things like, remember we had this like crazy regex, like write a regex that validates, well, I don't know why this is scrolling as I go, that validates an email address. Just give it to me. Okay, so like if you came across this, right, because you'll come across this in real life and it's like this, right? And you're like, I don't know what this is. You can highlight this.
Great
and then
show.
you can even do the inline chat and say explain. Explain. And then it will bump it over to the sidebar and you can see it's going to say the code above is a JavaScript expression that matches email addresses, which is exactly what you would need to know in this scenario. Because otherwise, like, what the heck?
Does explain only work if you have to highlight something?
I don't think so. No. Okay. But the thing is, like, if you highlight it, then it knows that you're scoping it, right? So it's kind of a good, yeah, I'm zoomed in. Sorry. What else can we do? Can we make this thing throw an error? That's the question, because I do want to show you. So here, let's do, let's try this. See if we can make it throw an error. So in our HTML, that's the wrong HTML. This is the one we want.
We're trying to debug with it.
So this won't work, right? Shouldn't work. Doesn't work. So open in the browser. And then let's open here and let's try. And we have an error in the console. Cannot, so it says uncaught area. So what we could do is we could just like copy this. And then let's go back to chat and see if it can fix it. I don't actually know. Actually, instead of doing that, maybe we could just highlight it and say fix. Although, does it know? Does it know? It knows. It knows. Look at this. It's telling you right here, you're missing application JSON and this is not going to work. All right. Again, I can't stress enough how much time this saves you. Because otherwise, like, this is a cryptic error. What are you supposed to do with this, right? Okay.
Love it. We have a little bit of time for questions. You
Yeah, we got 5
wanna
minutes.
dive into some of them? Someone asks, do you need a Copilot subscription to join the chat waitlist?
I think so. That's a good question. I
Is
don't actually know the answer to that.
Copilot and Copilot Chat are under the same subscription? Like you don't pay for them individually? Oh, there we go.
This is not going to work. It's going to tell me I can only talk about code. Yeah. It says go to the GitHub website, buddy.
What else did we have here? Hold on, there was another great. Oh, here we go. Is Copilot Chat extension available with JetBrains?
I don't know the answer to that. Although I do know that GitHub Copilot should work in your editor of choice. That's super important. You shouldn't have to use a specific editor just to use Copilot. However, a lot of the stuff that you've seen me demo today is only available in VS Code. This would be like slash commands, inline chats, and a lot of other stuff that we're adding, being able to move the thing around. It will not behave that way in other editors. I don't know what experience you'll get. What LLM does GitHub Copilot use? Oh, man, this is the question, right? Everybody wants to know this. So let me give you the official answer, and then I'll give you the unofficial answer. The official answer is don't worry about the model. We'll worry about the model, right? The whole point is that we abstract the model from you to give you the best experience. The unofficial answer is that it at one point in time was using Codex. Codex has since been deprecated, and it actually uses a new model that you haven't heard of. And it's a name that you won't recognize, but it is based off of GPT and runs in Azure OpenAI. And GitHub would probably get all over me and say, no, that's not exactly correct, but it's something like that. But the official answer is don't worry about it. That's our job. Our job is to worry about the specific model. We're going to pick the one that gives you the best answer.
I wanted to just show this because it's part of the presentation and I thought it's hilarious.
Yeah, this is really good, right? Just driving home the point that like it's not taking your job. I love this tweet. It's so good.
Love it. As a programmer, this feature's so needed. You can spend literally hours looking through code to see what you've missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that never changes, y'all. As long as you do this, 20 years in, you'll be staring at code going, why? Because you're missing a semicolon.
The infamous semicolon that's missing. Yeah.
Robin, you can code. You can do it. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I was thinking yesterday about how like people who are learning to code now, it's kind of like a whole different world or roadmap with these types of tools, and I'd be just curious. I can't wait to see people say like, "Oh, I learned Python with GitHub Copilot like this way" or something like that. Pretty cool.
Yes, and it can help you learn, but it is not going to replace your knowledge, right? Definitely. You need to know what you're doing in order to know if what Copilot's telling you is correct. It is a very powerful tool for doing what's already in your head, anticipating your next move, but it cannot build apps for you. And it can solve one-off problems. It can do these one-off things. But y'all, you got to be experts in your craft to get the most out of it. The more you know, the more you grow. That's from NBC or CBS or ABC. I don't remember.
The explain feature, I didn't know that was a thing. I kind of just highlight and say, what does this code actually do? I love it because then I can go poking around other people's repos and understand what they're actually doing and given the context that I have.
Yeah.
But I just want to shout out to this all about .NET and more. Explain is a very helpful feature.
This would have helped me so much when I was in college. Yeah, but y'all don't cheat yourself out of learning the stuff that you got to learn, right? And especially when you're first getting started coding, there's no other word for it, but it just sucks. It's kind of like playing a guitar. And when you first start playing guitar, it's awful. But if you stick with it for like 6 months, it gets really easy. And if you stick with it for like 10 years, you can do it without even thinking about it.
I love those last words of wisdom. We are at time
Bro,
here. I
yeah.
just wanted to add this survey link. Let us know what you want to see more of, what you thought about this. Again, the recording for this event will be available, I think, right away, pretty much, or in a couple of hours. Thank you, Burke, so much for hanging out. If
Yes,
you are
thank you for
interested,
having me.
of course, if you're interested in the Spanish version of this exact session, we're going to be doing it tomorrow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Burke, is there somewhere where people can get in touch with? Twitter is probably the easiest place to keep up to date with you.
You could hit me up on Twitter. I'm not there that often, but I check it somewhat regularly. I'd love to hear from you if I can.
Oh, and VS Code YouTube.
VS Code YouTube and TikTok.
VS Code TikTok.
You're already on TikTok. Just hit us up there. Go follow us. Drop the comments. We'll catch you in there.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well,
thanks, chat.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see everyone in the next session.
So long.